this is the real meme that I feel like nobody wants to hear. Um, there's a huge amount of players, and I will say when it comes to updates and when it comes to what to do, you want to decrease the amount of complaints, or like you obviously just increase the happiness of the player base overall. There's always going to be some people who are unhappy, but I feel like the people who are like clamoring for Johto right now, the people who will clamor for Johto now, and then once Johto is out, they'll blast through the region and then immediately go to global chat to spam Kalos soon, are the same people who are asking for like, who are saying like the game is super boring without endgame PvP or endgame PVM. We need dungeons, we need raids, there's nothing to do. Like these same players, as soon as they actually add dungeons or raids, they'll get bored of them within a week. The real meme is that like certain people, or there's a lot of players who like just are really bad with enjoying something long term, and that's okay. That's not like a bad thing, right? But there's like certain kind of gamers, it's just like a different kind of person, different kind of gamers. Nothing wrong with that, right? There are certain kind of gamers who enjoy playing a game, the same game, for thousands and thousands of hours, and some people enjoy playing a game for like 8 to 20 hours and then moving on, right? And I feel like there are people who like are like those 8 to 20 hour gamers, but are like trying to dictate or mandate like what the future of PokeMMO should look like, when they're not even the ones who like grind the end game. They're not even the one who like play the game, right? There is so much to do in PokeMMO. It is absurd at end game, right? Like the end game is where the game starts, right? There's a reason I have 6,000, 400 hours in this game. There's a reason why there's many players with 10,000 hours, 15,000 hours, 5k plus hours. Like there are so many players in this game at endgame with tons and tons and thousands of hours. Some people just AFK Vermilion, there are those players for sure, but there is a ton to do. The issue is you have to set your own goals. I always compare PokeMMO to like old school RuneScape, where it's like, okay, you have your skills, you have your methods to train them, now go do whatever you want to do. But I feel like a lot of people have a really hard time setting their goals, and I understand that. That's not like a bad thing, or like no one's better because they can do it or not, right? But you have to understand, like if you're that kind of person, you have to either fix or improve your ability to set your own goals. No amount of new content is going to make you happy. You have to fix your ability to set your own goals, right? Or just go to a different game, and that's okay, right? Just move on. I feel like there's going to be a large amount of players that once Johto releases, they're gonna cry for Kalos, and once Kalos releases, or like whatever, they're like dungeons and raids are gonna drop, and they're gonna be like, okay, I'm bored, like nothing to do again, Keck W. Like, well, there is stuff to do, but people are just like, people will like blame their lack of motivation or their lack of drive or lack of like creativity or interest into a game onto the game itself, and there always is some element of truth to that, right? Like I always say that even though I don't need endgame, I don't need endgame PVM, I don't need raids, I don't need dungeons, there's so much to do in PokeMMO. I have such a gigantic list of stuff that I'll never be able to finish, that I enjoy doing, that I'm fine. But I also acknowledge that for the embetterment of the game and for the happiness of the player base, it would be absolutely better for the game to add that endgame PVM. But the issue is there's going to be a subsect of the community that once they add that PVM, they're still going to be unhappy, they're still going to be sad, it's never really going to matter. It's almost like, this is kind of cringe, but it's almost like financial stuff, right? If you're like turbo giga depressed when you're poor, being rich isn't going to immediately make you turbo giga happy, right? But it will give you like the ability to like become so, right? So I hope that players who are having troubles with setting goals or having troubles with enjoying the game will have a baseline with like raids or dungeons that will make them happy and make them enjoy the game. And I still think raids and dungeons is like an objectively good update for the game and better for the community. But at the same time, there is still going to be that huge, not huge, I don't know what the percentage will be. I still think that there will be like a huge subset of players that will just be like really fucking sad, like a week after, like 1 week after dungeons and raids drop, people are gonna be back to AFK and Vermilion, and they're gonna blame it on the game when it's actually like a mental issue, right? Of like trying to set their, like, they have to set their own goals. Like that's fine, like that's okay, like I get, like it's really tough, like I'm not trying to like shit on those people. Setting your own goals can be really hard, and a lot of times it can be like super out of your control. Like motivation is one of those emotions that is largely out of people's control in a lot of ways, right? You kind of just have to like ride the waves and like abuse motivation when it comes and wait for it when it doesn't, or try to stir it up if possible. But It's tough. It's definitely difficult. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents.